Don't you just love it when you get a Google tip that's so good that you pause the video and you then go and try it on your Google business profile? Well, that's how good these tips are today. I've spent the last few weeks collecting my favourite tips ready for you for 2022, and I've put them right here. So let's jump straight into tip number 1. So for my first tip, I'm going to take photographs and just show you how photos can be uploaded, but how they're also understood and how they build trust through Google. So you see here we're looking at Google Images, and I've got this photograph here, and I've not called it anything other than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what happens if I upload that? Well, this is the intelligence that Google has. So if I click on search by image, upload, choose a file, I'm going to pick on that image, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, open it, it uploads it to Google, and notice it recognises it. It even says possibly related to search plumber. So even though it's not called or given any names, there's no letters, it recognises the U-bend, it recognises the wrench, and it sees it as a plumber, and then it finds images that are similar to it. So what do we get from this? We see that images are understood. Google has an intelligence. It recognises what the image is. So don't just upload any old image. Upload images that are specifically going to help your business. That in itself shows Google has the intelligence. And this is all part of the EAT really. You're proving trust. So we know expertise and authority is a couple of things, but also the trust is involved. And as Google says, trustworthiness is measured by accurate results. You need to go through your exterior photos, interior photos, your products, photos of work, food and drink if that's relevant. And you notice they haven't just written this for no reason. Add at least 3 great exterior photos, add at least 3 great interior, add at least 3 photos. Google recognises that photos will bring in traffic, that 35% will give you more clicks through to your website, 42% has been proven by Google that it brings in driving directions, and 60% Bright Local found out that good images pushed visitors towards a decision. Now for my second tip, I have to give all credit to Rob, and he just pointed out to me that when he gets customers and they say they're really pleased with what he's done, he doesn't just ask for a review like you would do, perhaps on Facebook or on Google, but he then just says, I've got my camera, is there any chance I can just get you to stand next to the van in under 30 seconds why you chose me or why you're happy with me? And what he's done is he's just built up this reputation that's so strong and really benefited. But look at all these great reviews. And of course, what he can do as well is he can upload them to Google as well. So we do a search for Premier Lawns, which is Robbie's company. Go into his photos. You notice then if I go to videos, and
Robbie
again,
has been working for the last 3 years. I always find his...
Look at that. Just a small little video, 20 seconds this one. What this does is it builds up a real trust. Goes back to EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. And this is one of his real highlights, is just get these reviews. If they're happy to give a review, get them to do it on a video, because you can do so much more with a video review. It seems to be a much stronger way of building trust. My third tip is about links, and here's a great tool called GBP Audit. I'll put a link down below for you. It's a Chrome extension which it produces buttons like these: basic audit, review audit, post audit. If you click on the basic audit, so if I take the basic audit on my website, what it does, it will produce some great links. And the reason why you want this plugin is these links are direct links. So for example, a knowledge panel link, if I open that up, it will just produce the knowledge panel itself, which is a great way of displaying all the information you've got. But it's much wider, it's a full screen, you could send that on to someone. So there's a unique link for that. If we go back again, you've got external audit links, you can do audits as well. So you can find new categories and related categories. You can analyze your traffic through Neil Patel's website. There's all sorts of brilliant links here. You can even see your website history in the web archive. In fact, there is so many decent links here. Even things like if you just want to review a list of your links, there you go, and it just brings it up to you. So with one URL, you can send people through to all your links as well. And there's lots and lots of other things as well. So a brilliant little tip there is use these links, link internally to each other as well, and that will certainly help you. Now, of course, if you're enjoying these tips, and by all means, if you've got any tips or tricks that you use, then put them down below in the comments so we can all benefit from them. And while you're there, give this a like if you're finding any benefits from this video so far. Now let's move on to the fourth area of keywords. Now when it comes to keywords, then keywords will bring in traffic, and you can find out what type of traffic Google is going to be rewarding, particularly in the future, because it now is saying artificial intelligence is meeting the algorithm and the two are working together. And you can see this is a new direction called Multitask United Model, or MUM, a new milestone. And this is the new kind of current release. It's going to be 1,000 times more powerful than the BERT, according to the heads of search in Google. And in fact, what does this mean? Well, it means it's going to reward long tail keywords. They're going to be more important than ever. So what can you do today? Well, let's just first understand what a long tail keyword is. Long tail keywords, if you look it up, is basically key phrases that are more specific. Usually they're longer, they're more commonly used keywords that are put together. And it says that long tail keywords get less search traffic, but will usually have a higher conversion rate. So you may be familiar with that, but what you will find is with the natural language, the artificial intelligence, long tail keywords are going to come into their own. So how do you find your long tail keywords that are working at the moment? If you put in your website and you then click on the views, this will then bring up your performance. If you come down your performance, you'll see here your keywords that are producing traffic. If you click on this, but things like how to get Google listing, that's what, 5 words. IT support Bournemouth is 3 words. So if I start mentioning these in posts and questions and my website, this is going to bring in more traffic because no one else is probably coming close to ranking in that area at the moment. Or where are my Google reviews? What is Google My Business? These are bringing in traffic to my website. And if you want some ideas for, say you're a plumber, then if you do a search for 24-hour plumbers, for example, and then come to the bottom of the page, and there you'll see related searches. And this just gives you some more long tail keywords that are related, or what Google sees as related to the 24-hour plumbers. Now this next tip is all about mirroring your website with Google My Business or Google Business Profile, and particularly with services. I mean, here I've got several services that I offer on my website, but what I've noticed actually is I've got a lot more services that have been registered now on Google. So on Google My Business, it knows I do marketing campaigns, marketing materials, marketing strategy. And so the challenge is can you add services and then get them to mirror what's on your website? I've got here MailChimp Experts. If I go to Marketing MailChimp Expert, the two should mirror. So you want the information here to kind of dovetail nicely with the information here. This just gives you a chance to put a paragraph of information. And of course, if it's a service where you want to put a cost, you can put a price as well. There's no links involved as such, but you've got 300 characters you can put in here. And this again is just letting Google know when someone does a search for, say, MailChimp Experts in my vicinity, then I'm hoping that I'll come up because I mention it on my website. And often you see then Google picking that information up on Google Maps. Now for my next tip, it's just all about remembering audience. Think of your audience. Everything you do should be with your audience in mind. And actually the key phrase here is your audience is more important than the algorithm. Now, I get loads of questions asked, what shall I do? Shall I do this to please Google? Shall I do that to please Google? But actually, ultimately, the answer is what's best for your audience. Because the algorithm is only trying to make sure that your audience is happy. And there's always the answer, is if it makes sense for your audience, then it's going to be rewarded through the algorithm. If it's not now, it'll be in the future. So for my 7th one, it's about questions and understanding what questions can you put in your Google My Business listing. You notice that if you go to your knowledge panel, there you get questions and answers. But how do you know what questions to put? Well, remembering the previous point number 6 was think of your audience. What is it your audience is asking you? What is it they're after? And with that in mind, you can find out to some degree, because if you go to Google, so if I type in web design SEO as an example, you notice here people also ask, what is SEO web design? Is SEO part of web design? Do web designers need to know SEO? What does SEO stand for? These are questions that people are asking, and you could just literally take that question and answer it from your angle, from your perspective, from your business angle. And if you don't have enough, then click a few of these. And what happens is you get loads of more answers. So how do I design SEO? Which website is best for SEO? How can I do SEO for free? Why is SEO bad? These are questions all about just one angle, SEO, of web design. And that's the key to getting some really good questions. And of course, you'll know another little bonus tip, but if you want a particular question to show, which in this case I haven't got, you need to get more than 3 thumbs up. So if you get a couple of other people to give something a thumbs up, that question will then show. So that's a way in which you can supersede certain ones above other ones as well, if you want to be in control of which question shows in your knowledge panel. So for my 8th tip, it's all about monitoring things. You may notice that Google gave a massive update. In fact, I did a video called Awesome Update recently, which you may have seen. November 2021, this is a tweet from Google. It spoke about from November the 30th to December the 8th, there was a huge update. And the video explains what the update did and how important that is. So if you want to know a bit more about that, head over to that video after this one. But what you can do is you can actually see how the update is affecting your particular industry. That's the average. So there's a huge peak, December the 7th, the 8th. You'll notice the big algorithm change here. And if you then got the industry of, say, bars and pubs, this tells you that beforehand it was slightly below, and now afterwards it's kind of peaked again. But this is kind of the average, and then you can then see, well, okay, well, I'm involved in the cleaning services industry. How does that do against the average when it comes to the updates? And this is all about just the algorithm changing its values and how the local rank is fluctuating. Now, if you want to know more about this, I'll put a link down below. Now, my 9th tip is about bookings and appointments, and it's easy to not realize, but if you've got an industry that requires bookings and you've got online bookings, then this is a really useful way, because people can book online here, or you can take appointments, which just leads them through to an appointment page. So how do you get that? Well, you can do a few things. You can sign up with Simply Book, which I could put a link down below for you, and that will help you to put a booking system onto your website. And there's other things as well you can do. For example, here you can take a request to quote through Google itself, and that will help you to take bookings. On my website, you can add Calendly, which is another one which is free, where people can make bookings. You can then add them into Google My Business, and that will enable you to have a booking system. So for example, if I click here, book online, and then you can have through Google, this is as well, you can then have bookings take place, and you've even got the prices and so on as well. So really useful little tip there. Now, tip number 10 is all about just keeping an eye on spam around you. So I've just done a search here for randomly garage doors, New York, USA. And the type of thing you'll notice is sometimes you can just look at the names of the businesses and think, well, that doesn't look like that's likely to be a name of a business. It just looks like they've put lots of keywords in. And that does obviously get lots of traffic, but that's not part of the policy. So you can flag that with Google, and you'll notice if you go through here, I mean, again, I'm just randomly going through, so I'm not picking on anyone in particular, but you can see that's a lot of information for the business name, and that should just be the business name. So I guess that the business name there is A to Z Garage Doors, but you notice they've got a lot of other information. So how do you go about that? How do you flag it? Well, you can click on it and you can flag it and say to Google, can you just check this? Is this right? Or you can go to a page here, which again, I'll put the link down below, called the Business Redressal Complaint Form. And there again, if you're aware of what the guidelines are and you see someone's breaking the guidelines, then to make things a bit more of a fairer platform, Google just wants to be made aware. So Google can just check to see if they agree with you. Now, tip number 11 is a great little tip, because most people have the free website. So if you go into your Google My Business Profile Manager, once you get to the website, then you can just check to see, is it live, which you can connect it to a domain, which I've got another video that covers that. But also you can then click on view site and so on. But there's just one thing that most websites forget. So this is my site. When you view it, you notice I've got 5 pages. So updates, testimonials, about us, gallery, contact. Now, if I do a search for others, say plumbers, you notice 4 pages. And here 4 pages, and here 4 pages. What's going on? Why is it everyone seems to have 4 pages and not 5? Well, this one has updates, testimonials, gallery and contact, but notice this one has updates, testimonials, gallery, contact. This one has the about us, but doesn't have testimonials. I think it's testimonials is there, About Us is there. So why is that? So why doesn't this put testimonials? Well, he's got no testimonials, so that page doesn't show. But what he has got is he's got an About Us page, which is this bit here. And this is the bit that most people don't remember to do. There's no About Us here. How do you get the About Us page? Well, all you do is within the website, if you then go into Edit, and then if you come down a bit, this section here is a really important section, because if you fill this out, it will give you an extra page. And in fact, what I would suggest you do is you put information, you mention towns and villages near you, you put links through to things that are useful. And by doing all these things, you're actually encouraging Google to spider it, to make you an authority in those areas and to make you a bit more trustworthy too. And it gives you an extra page as well. So if you've got only 4 pages, check to see is your testimonials working? Have you filled in the About Us page as well? Tip number 12 is the Pareto Principle. It's the 80-20 law. So for example, if you put in 20% effort in the right area, you'll get 80% of the results. I mean, it's said that's true of hoovering, that actually 80% of the dust is in 20% of the carpet, which is the main walkway. So if you want to do an efficient hoover, just hoover the middle 20% of the carpet. So with that in mind, Google does give you a big clue as to where to put the 20% to get 80% benefit. You could worry all the time about your distance and how close you are and where your office is. You could worry about the prominence and being prominent in everyone's face. But ultimately, there are 3 things Google's looking at: relevance, distance, and prominence. And these 2 things you can't control. You can't control the distance of how close you are to the person searching for your local business. And you can't really be prominent. That takes time, it takes effort, and that's about building up the EAT, the expertise, authority, and trust. But what you can do is be relevant, because you can put the information, the keywords, the details, the 5 pages, all the tips we've done so far. It's about mirroring your website with the services you've got. It's about understanding what images people use and what artificial intelligence keywords Google understands. And that's what you're looking for. I also cover this, your 80-20 focus tips. So I'll put a link to this video that's all about some local business tips based on the 80-20 rule. And ultimately, as this image shows, don't try boiling the ocean. And so what you need to be more efficient is you need to have a local SEO strategy. And I'm going to show you how you can get a local SEO strategy in a moment. But before I do that, let's move on to our 13th tip. And the 13th tip is all about messaging. And messaging has changed because in the past, they encouraged you to have your messaging through your Google My Business app. But as you know, Google My Business app is now being stopped. It's not being supported. They're pulling the plug on it from 2022. But what they are doing is encouraging you to turn on web notifications. And by doing that, then when people now try and contact you through Google My Business, you'll get an alert in your Chrome window. And so the idea is you can turn on messaging, you can send receipts as well to your customers to let them know that you've read their message when it comes through. So Google is changing dramatically the way in which you communicate with your customers. And so with that in mind, even things like requesting a quote now is done much more through the browser rather than using the app. So this little bonus tip is just looking at how you can use this tool, GMB Everywhere. And it just gives you things like review audits and post audits. Why do you need those? Well, it would be useful to know what your competitors were doing and how many posts and how many reviews. So if they're number 1, it could be that they're just doing something in particular that's right in Google's eyes. So what it will do, it will just work through, or look at all of the information, just allow it to tick through for a moment. And it will then analyze how many reviews they've done, what the ratings are, what the average ratings are, and so on. And so just gives a bit of information about how many reviews, what their average reviews are. And you could just set a few goals for you to beat these. It's the same, it does the same with not just reviews, but it does it with posts as well. How regularly do they add posts? And you can then see how often. And what Google's going to reward is to do something regularly. So it's not about 100 reviews coming in a week. It's about 100 reviews coming in constantly. You can notice each time they add a review, add a review, add a review. And that's kind of really important. So this is a great report that's going to help you. And also I'll look at the keywords that have been used. Again, that might help you. So I'll put a link to that down below. So I mentioned earlier in the video that what you need is a local SEO strategy. And I've got 3 small strategies you can now apply by heading over to this video. So I'll see you there.